You know, when we think of Mustafa Kemal Atatürk, we usually picture the soldier, right? The statesman, the guy who founded a republic. But what if the real key to understanding him and the nation he built isn't found on a battlefield or in parliament, but on a bookshelf? That's what we're going to find out. We're going inside his personal library.
So we're basically going on an investigation here. We're going to peel back the layers of this huge public figure to find the private reader. We're going to see how a collection of books became the intellectual arsenal for an entire revolution.
And we are talking about a massive collection. The official count is 3,997 books in his personal library. I mean, this was no casual hobby. This was the intellectual engine room of the Turkish Republic. To really get his vision, you have to look past the leader and see the lifelong student. And the clues he left behind? Well, they're not in his speeches. They're scribbled in the margins of these very books. And the only reason we can even do this explainer is because of this incredible project called the Books Ataturk Read. Researchers went through and documented every single volume. And not just the titles, they recorded every mark, every note. They basically gave us a key to unlock his mind. What they discovered was that this library, it wasn't some static collection just for show. No, it was a dynamic, active workshop where ideas were being forged, tested, and sharpened. See, Ataturk was a master of what we now call active reading. He didn't just passively absorb information. He wrestled with it. He was having a conversation with every single author. And how do we know this? Well, he left his fingerprints all over the pages. Okay, so let's dig in and see how he read, by looking at the evidence, the physical traces he left behind of his mind at work. This is where it gets really fascinating. So the first thing you notice is something a lot of us do. He underlined things. But if you look closer, his underlining was totally strategic. He wasn't just highlighting, he was isolating the core concepts he wanted to come back to. Like this bit here about historical imagination. But it didn't stop there. He went further. Here, you can see this big X he drew in the margin. This wasn't just about remembering something. This was about making a judgment. He was critically evaluating what the author was saying and flat out marking what he disagreed with. He wasn't a passive student at all. He was a critic. And then you get to the deepest level of engagement. He literally talked back to the books. I mean, look at this page. He's questioning the author's choice of words, writing his own thoughts in Turkish right next to the original French text. This is a direct dialogue happening across centuries, with his own ideas taking shape right there on the page. So if that's how he read, the next obvious question is, what did he read? By looking at the subjects that filled his library, we can actually start to map out the very structure of his thinking. And that map, well, it's overwhelmingly a map of history. He just devoured texts on the cradles of civilization. We're talking Mesopotamia, Persia, the Greco-Roman world. He was obsessed with the rise and fall of empires, the history of languages, the mechanics of power, and how societies evolve. And you can see how this works, going from the general topic to a very specific detail. So here he is reading a book on ancient Persia, and what's the one thing he singles out? Right here. He underlines the phrase Armée Nationale, a national army. See? He wasn't just reading about the past, he was actively mining it from models he could use in his present. And get this, he wasn't just reading the big, sweeping stories. He was poring over chronological tables of Assyrian kings, literally dissecting the raw data of history to understand how power was won, how it was held, and how it was lost over thousands of years. This is the mind of a strategist, a true systems thinker. Now, of all the passages he marked, this one right here might be the most revealing. It's from a book on Roman history, and he flags this sentence. Let's draw up a balance sheet of what the state and the church gained and lost in their marriage. An observation about the ancient world that would basically become the blueprint for one of his biggest, most profound modern reforms. And this, right here, is where it all comes together. The library wasn't an escape from the world for him. It was the workshop where he designed a new one. The ideas he found in these ancient pages walked directly into the laws and institutions of the modern Turkish Republic. The connections are just undeniable. That passage about the marriage of church and state, it echoes directly in his establishment of secularism. His deep, deep study of different languages and alphabets, that leads straight to the Turkish alphabet reform. And his notes on the rights of women in ancient Crete, they totally foreshadowed some of the most progressive reforms for women anywhere in the world at that time.
When you boil it all down, Ataturk's library wasn't a passive collection of knowledge. It was a blueprint for building a nation, reverse-engineered from 2,000 years of human history.
So it kind of leaves you with a fascinating question, right? A personal library really is a map of a mind. We all have a collection of books, articles, and videos we consume. If someone were to catalog it all, to map your intellectual world, what story would it tell? What are you building with the ideas